Well, the Scottish Conservatives are calling for the SNP to launch an inquiry into Russian interference in the independence referendum. Murdo Fraser is the Scottish Conservatives Shadow Constitution Secretary. Hello, Murdo Fraser.
Good afternoon, John.
First of all, it is a disgrace, isn't it? A national disgrace that the UK government actively avoided looking for Russian interference during the EU referendum. That is a national disgrace, is it not?
Well, those are the words, not of course of the committee as a whole. Those are the words of one member of Parliament who was on that committee. He was an SNP member of Parliament. So I don't think we should accept at face value that particular allegation.
But they didn't look into it, did they?
Well, if there was credible evidence that there was Russian interference in the Brexit referendum, then I would entirely agree that there should be a full-scale inquiry and there should have been into that. But what this report does not disclose is that there was any such credible evidence, and that's the distinction between the Brexit referendum in 2016 and the Scottish referendum in 2014, where this report does say there was credible evidence of Russian interference. And that's the distinction. And the other distinction between the two issues is, what we've seen since 2014 are very senior people within the SNP, including, of course, the former First Minister Alex Salmond, become paid agents for the Russian state broadcaster, not just Alex Salmond, but other former SNP MPs. Now,
you're just muddying the waters here, Murdo Fraser. He's not here to defend himself. That has nothing to do with the independence referendum in 2014.
It's everything to do with the fact that here we have a confluence of events.
And his programmes are made by an independent production company. This is a sidebar to the issue. The issue is fundamentally the report out today, which is saying that the UK government actively avoided looking for Russian interference during the EU referendum.
Let's imagine a scenario where there was evidence of Russian interference in the 2016 referendum, which, incidentally, there isn't, and this report does not say there is. And subsequent to that referendum, David Cameron ceased being the Prime Minister and leader of the Conservative Party and took up paid employment with the Russian state broadcaster and was being paid by Vladimir Putin's government to put out messages on their behalf. Now, people like you would be shouting at the walls if that was the case. And yet here we have a confluence of events, not just Alex Salmond, but other people in the SNP appearing and working for and being paid for channels like Russia Today and Sputnik on the back of what this report says is clear evidence that there was Russian interference in the 2014
really
referendum.
Cheap political points here. Are you seriously telling answer the question. Are you seriously telling the audience that the Russians chose to meddle in an independence referendum and then they ignored completely a Brexit referendum? Are you seriously saying this?
John, what I'm saying is we should listen to what the evidence says.
Are you saying that?
I don't know if you've read the committee report.
You claim you have evidence of 2014 meddling, but there's nothing to do with the Brexit referendum, which would be extraordinary, wouldn't it?
Well, John, I'm only going on what's actually in the report. And if you actually read the report, this is what the report says. The report says there is credible open source commentary suggesting that there were influence campaigns from the Russians in the Scottish independence referendum in 2014, and they do not say the same about the Brexit referendum. Now, look, the way to answer these questions is to get them out in the open and have an inquiry. And that's why we're saying to the Scottish Government, given the concerns that have been raised in this report, and they are concerns, incidentally, that reflect a great deal that's been in the public domain in Scotland over the past 6 years since 2014, and given the clear links there are with former SNP members, including the former SNP leader, with the Russian state broadcaster, there's enough here that we need to have this out in the open and properly investigated. And I can't see why anyone would resist that. And if your suggestion is that the water's being muddied here, well, come on, let's get a bit of clarity then.
My question to you would be, if there was no evidence of any meddling, why delay the publishing of the report to after the UK election?
Well, that's a matter you'd have to put to members of the committee.
Why do you
have the responsibility as members of the committee to decide on the timing of reports. I'm the convener of a Scottish Parliament committee. I'm the deputy convener of another, and the timing of the issuing of these reports is entirely in the gift of the members of the committee. So I suggest that's a question you really need to put to them as to why they decided when to publish this report when it was published. But I would say, John, having read the report, I can see nothing in this report that would have been damaging to the Conservative Party's prospects in the general election campaign back in December. And let's remember, in advance of this report being published, we had a huge number of people who were saying this report would be damning of the Leave campaign in the Brexit referendum. It would disclose all sorts of horrific details about Russian influence. None of that has come out of this report. Despite all the claims that are being made, nothing has been disclosed.
OK, Stuart Hosey, thank you very much indeed. Sorry, Murdo Fraser, my apologies. Murdo Fraser from the Scottish Conservatives. Thank you very much, the Shadow Constitution Secretary.